All right, let's go. All right. Let's talk about that
Toronto game last night.
Yeah.
I don't know, Dad, did you watch it?
A little bit here and there.
It was okay. But, Dad, watching that game, I can't help but think when Detroit, the time that you and Ron went down to see Troy Crowder, Bob Probert, the rematch.
Oh, boy. The year before, we used to sit up high, and he says, I'm Troy Crowder. And he said, and I'll beat Probert. And look at this.
So this was a year ago.
Yeah.
A year before the fight.
This is he was in the minors.
Yeah. He was big, eh, Troy Crowder?
Oh, boy, he was big. He was about 6'4", arms as long as I felt sorry for Probert.
So then the next year, they got to the fight in New Jersey. The funny thing is, Dad, sorry to interrupt, but Probert never wore tie-downs. And that's what happened. Like, Crowder got the jump on him.
And he got the jump on him, and he cut him.
He cut him, and he pulled his sweater over his head.
Yeah.
And then he got him. But then the rematch happened 3 weeks later, and it wasn't on TV, Del. Can you imagine that?
Not aired. That's crazy.
Imagine it wasn't on TV. And I phoned the head guy, the PR guy.
In Detroit. Yep.
Yeah, in Detroit. And I said, I got to have 2 tickets. He says, 2 tickets? Are you kidding? He says, I give you 2 way up high.
You and Ron went.
We drove down and just to see the fight. And by God, it was a beauty fight.
But tell us when they let you kind of park and you walked in underneath and
and I said, I saw the linesman. I said, if you stop this fight,
that would be the linesman today. They jump in, make sure it didn't happen, right? All 16,000 people there to see the fight.
16,000.
So what did the linesman say?
He says, "Are you kidding?" He says, "I'm here to see the fight too." So they had 2 fights.
Yeah.
They had 2 fights.
And for the people, were they good fights?
No, they were beauties. By God, we got up and we started to leave, and everybody started to give us a standing ovation. And
everybody thought, what cheap guys Don and Ron are sitting up in the nosebleeds.
Yeah. We got on the elevator, and the elevator said, no, I'm pushing Ron off. I said, no, let him on, too. And, no, let him on. There was police and everything. So then we got in the car, and we drove home.
Yeah, is it good? They said everybody was sold out. You said the crowd. You said it felt like a heavyweight fight before.
It was everybody was watching. They put on a pretty good show. And Probert won both of them.
No, Probert won the first one.
And the second one was tie.
No, what I always remembered, Dad, when we talk about driving back from Detroit or Windsor back to Toronto, was you and I and Ron and a couple and Trevor Whiffen and. There was an executive from Hockey Night in Canada. I forget who it was. Yeah, we drove down in our Yukon, but my favorite car was that burgundy Yukon that we had. Yeah.
Black cherry.
Black cherry, yeah. Yes. And we drove down to Windsor for an exhibition there was some a girl hockey team got into a bus accident.
Yeah, and we drove down, and they were not going to introduce the girls that were hurt.
So you went and told them to open up
I says, open up the doors and let them out.
Yeah.
And they were in wheelchairs. And
I remember Ron, he played. You were coaching and Ron was playing. And he had those goofy skates that were really loud. What were they called?
The T-blades.
The T-blades. Yes. They were goofy looking.
They sounded weird.
Yeah. And Ron, for some reason, Ron wore these blades. They were really kind of weird looking.
Goofy.
And so Eddie Mio saw them. Remember Eddie Mio?
No, I said to Eddie Mio up.
Yeah.
I said, go up and make fun of his skates.
For the skates. So,
and he'd get mad.
Yeah, Ron got mad. I think Eddie says, I can get the Spitfires open up their dressing room, and Ron goes, well, why would you want to do that? He goes, well, get you some real skates. And he got mad.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't take it as a joke. He got mad. So you played the whole thing, and then remember the storm on the way back.
Oh, boy. That was the worst storm I was ever in.
It was like, it would be raining, and then it was ice. And then, you hit the snow belt going from London, like through London, right? And it would be like just a complete blizzard. We had to pull over and chip the ice off the blades. Man. But the thing I do remember about that, Dad, that was pretty funny, was that was the same year that $1 Million Baby, the movie $1 Million Baby was out with Clint Eastwood and
I never did see that movie.
Yeah. And so we're making chit chat. I got 7 hours to kill. And Dad, you go, I want to go see $1 Million Baby with Clint Eastwood. I'm a big Clint Eastwood friend. So you said, well, how did you like it? And Ron goes, I liked it right up to the time where Clint Eastwood kills her at the end. And I remember you going, he goes, man, you're effing stupid. He goes, you really are effing stupid. He goes, you're dangerous, old silver tongue. And Ron goes, gee, I guess I shouldn't have told you that, right? Well, no. So you didn't even bother going to see it after that.
I did go see it, and Clint Eastwood was... very, very, very upset.
Okay, Dell, we're going to go into some questions. We got a lot of questions from fans this week. So what's the first one?
Okay, from Harry Voutour on X. Hey, Grapes, any cat stories? Either Emile, Felix Potvin, or Tiger Williams?
I owe my career, actually, to Emile Francis. And I'll tell you what happened.
Right, it was your first year in Rochester, and you didn't have any players. The guys that you got were not very good at the start, right? So you had to go out and find everybody.
I remember I went to Joe Crozier, and Joe never sent me a player. Never sent me one. So
you coached you for how many years, and he never helped you out?
Never helped me out. And Emile Francis, who was my enemy, well, when you played teams, they were enemy. He sent 8 players.
Right. He was with the New York Rangers, right?
With the New York Rangers, and I guess he figured, well, he might as well play in the American League as the Eastern League, and he sent me 8 players.
But you had you had to go in and look at the players, and how did you get in to see them?
I remember how I got in to see them. They had a guard there, and you didn't get in to see them. And
where was their training camp?
Kitchener, Ontario.
Well, Kitchener Rangers makes sense. Yeah.
I never thought of that. Anyhow, I took off my jacket. I walked in, and I rolled up the sleeves and everything, and limped. And he says, going in for a treatment, kid? And yeah.
He passed as a player?
Yeah. He passed as a player. Well, because you were in your 30s.
I was only 30-some years old. Yeah. I got in, and I knew Dennis Ball. It was really something. And I remember a guy named there, Gary Coulter. I remember he could really skate. I says, well, I suppose I can't have Coulter. And he says, no. He says, we don't like him. Don't like him. Jeez,
They said, oh, we won't give him you. He's going down the ECHL.
Yeah, he's going down to St. Paul. I couldn't believe it. Man, the way he could skate better than anybody in the club. He really could.
Yeah, so Emile the Cat Francis, that was his nickname. So he saved you. He gave you John Bendarski.
He saw me sitting up there all by myself. He took the goalies out before. He says, who's that guy sitting up there? He asked Dennis Ball. He says, oh, that's Don Cherry. He's with Rochester. He doesn't have any players. And he supplied me with the players.
But the one guy you asked for, they said no.
No. And the one guy I asked for, Gary Coulter, no way. He's going to St. Paul. So I asked for, I got what I got. I'll never forget when he phoned me. And he said, do you want Bob Kelly? I said, I knew I made it.
We got you Battleship Kelly.
Battleship Kelly.
So the other cat stories, Felix the Cat Potvin. The only thing I could really remember about him was that fight he had with Ron Hextall.
Oh, boy.
Did you see that, Adele?
Hextall said, where did this guy come from?
That's right. I don't think Hextall was expecting that.
Yeah. where did this guy come from? And boy, could he throw him.
I know. That was one of the better goalie fights.
That was the all-time goalie fight. Yeah.
Right. If you're going to say what goalie fight's the best goalie fight, so Google Felix the Cat Potvin and Ron Hextall.
I think he cut Hextall.
Yeah.
He cut him.
That was good. And then Tiger Williams. I'll tell one Tiger Williams story. Remember when he got traded to Vancouver, and then the first game back in Toronto, he scored, and he rode a stick all the way from center ice, and find out that Bobby Schmott said to him, your buddy Bobby Schmott, our buddy, says, if you score a goal, you got to ride the stick. And he goes, I will. He goes, all right. And if you see that goal, Schmotzy's on the ice, and he points to center ice, and Tiger, rides the stick, like shooting and stuff like that. Yeah.
He was shooting the crowd.
Okay, Dad, what's the next question?
All right, 5 for fighting. Hey, Coach, outside the Bouchard-Jonathan fight, what was your best Bruin fight when you were coaching?
I'd have to say it was Terry O'Reilly and Paul Holmgren. And boy, did they go at it.
Yeah. Well, I remember that fight because, like, everybody thinks, Boston and Montreal was a big rival, but the Bruins fans loved the Philadelphia Boston because you knew something was going to happen. Something was going to happen. And it was a pretty quiet game, and there was an offside call, and Terry had his back to Paul Holmgren, and Paul Holmgren just cross-checked him right in the back. And the whole crowd went, oh! And it couldn't believe that he did it. Boy, did they get up, and boy, did they go at it. And
it was a good fight.
That was one of the better ones.
One of the better fights I saw in the Boston Garden that year.
The other one too, one with Stan, was that a lot of people didn't see it. Was Stan and Dave Schultz when Schultz was in L.A.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Schultz knew who Stan was.
No, he didn't.
And wasn't really prepared for him. And they were, Stan started throwing lefts and he was throwing rights. And boy, that was a good one too. But you can't really see it. Like I Googled that a couple times and there's no good camera angle of it. But that was a good one too.
And the crowd loved the fights.
Okay, Dad, we'll do one more.
Okay, from BB4 and 7 from X. Hey, Coach, I read an article that in your first year of coaching, you saw some blood running down Espo's neck. And when you told him, he said he was going to kill his hairdresser. Was that true?
That is so true. And I couldn't believe it. I said, I saw this blood running. It looked like blood.
Because it was black, right?
It was black.
It was his hair dye.
And I thought, geez, I don't remember him getting hit. And he says, I'm going to kill that hairdresser.